Right. Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is one for all of you science fiction people, readers, collectors. So hands up anybody who's been on eBay and had an impulse buy. Quite a few. Okay, keep your hand up if you've had buyer's remorse. Not because of the content necessarily, but because you realise that you've fallen down another rabbit hole that might lead to, shall we say, further purchases. Well, those of you who still got your hands up, you know what comes next. Right, today we're going to have a look at some science fiction magazines. I mean, pulps, I don't know if pulps is quite the word, but we're in that area. These are astounding science fiction magazines from 1943 up to, I think it's 57 or 58, I can't quite remember. And I bought these as a job lot on eBay. There's about 50, I think, in the job lot, and something like 46 of them were of any use, a couple of doubles, one that was falling apart. And they worked out roughly about £1.25 each. Now let me put that into perspective for you. £3.75 for 3 issues of magazines that are 80 years old is cheaper than one copy of TV Times, which was published last week. Ridiculous, really, isn't it? But there you go. Right. These are English, these are British editions, apart from one, which I can show you as a comparison actually. Now the British editions aren't as desirable as the American editions. Some of the American editions, you know, can fetch quite good money. But still, these are still interesting in as much as they have some very good stories in, sort of stories that have become classics really over the years. And they have some interior artwork as well. The only difference really to the American editions is that they are thinner. I'll show you a comparison when we get started. Just briefly, for those of you not familiar, these magazines from the period I'm talking about and later were kind of the first stop for established science fiction writers and also up and coming, you know, young writers whose names were not known yet. Now, if their story was accepted for an issue, they can get paid fantastic rates. There was so much a word, I can't, you know, it varied over the years. But this was the first stop for those writers and helped to pay the rent, if you like. And then, of course, the stories that appeared in these magazines, short stories, might have been picked up for hardback publication for various anthologies and even better collections, because those are all the works of one writer, so they make a few bob off them. And then, of course, when the hardback had been out for a few months, the stories would pass into the mass paperback market, you know, where some canny money is made, because, you know, obviously more are sold. So that's basically what the purpose of these magazines were, and also to give entertainment to the reader, of course. So we'll have a look. We'll have a look at the little bundle I've got. I'm not going to show you insides and everything of all of them because, as I say, there's 40 odd to get through. But I'll just give you a rough idea of the dates and the cover. The cover art is probably the more interesting when you're doing a video like this. I'm pleased to be able to spotlight these actually because, excuse me, I've got a frog. Because pulps and magazines like this are fairly undervalued, underrated, underexposed, if you like, on YouTube channels of science fiction. So, as I say, I'm happy to bring them into the light, so to speak. So anyway, I'll just start by giving you a rough idea of the comparison between the American editions, and this is the American edition from 1946. I do a bit of repair work on the spine there to make it look a bit more presentable, but as you can see it's quite thick as opposed to, say, a 1943 English edition. I mean, this is a particularly thin one. If we actually pass on to 1946 as a fair comparison, a little bit thicker, but they didn't have the same content, although many of them had the same stories, if not all of them. So, as I say, these are more desirable. These will, for about this period, you're talking 10 quid upwards for an American edition. So we'll just put that to one side. Okay, we start off in 1943. That's 80 years old. And they're the sort of covers. There's a story by Clifford Simak on the cover there. And then we have December 44, we jump a year again. And Clifford Simak featured on the cover. I mean, some of these covers are quite crude compared with, say, the 60s and 70s books, magazines, but interesting nevertheless. Excuse me, I'm in trouble here. I'll take a quick swig to try and get rid of this frog I seem to have developed. Sorry. Right. Now we move on to 46 July. And December of that year. That's quite a nice one. I say, when I bought these, I realised when it got nearer the final hours of the auction that I hadn't asked the seller to give me a view of the spines, because it's the spines on these that are the most problematic. And if you get a lot of these with broken spines, torn spines are not there at all, then they look horrible, But luckily when these come, the bulk of them were quite nice, quite acceptable for the year, for the age. So you can see the British edition price there, 9D. What's that about? 3p now, or 4p or something, isn't it? This is one I had a double for, but this is a better copy. So some of them are a little bit cruder than others. And then it's an interesting one from April 1947. Hal Clement is quite a well-known name. And of course Theodore Sturgeon is particularly well known from June 47. You know, and these came out around about the time when, you know, people didn't have a lot of spare cash, so it was a nice cheap form of entertainment. That's quite a nice one. And there we have. And now there's a printing error on that one. I don't know if you noticed it, but it's actually got EA Van Vogt where it should be AE Van Vogt, of course. So an interesting misprint there. Right, then we move on to, still on 47, December of 47. Right, a very dark cover. You can see many dark covers, you know, they're mainly bright. So they stood out on the newsstands. That one's September 49, so we're jumping a couple of years forward. That is a nice one. This is from 1950. You know, a bit surreal and a bit Dali-esque, if you like. So they're the kind of covers that I particularly like. Then we have another dark one, but it's very nice. This is from August 1948. I like that one. There's no story highlighted on the cover either, so it's almost a virgin cover, if you like. And then we have this one from 1950. That's an unusual cover. And now this is a very interesting one. This is June 1951. See the bottom there? Dianetics, a new science of the mind. So presumably L. Ron Hubbard had an essay or something in there. So yeah, that's a particularly interesting issue. And then a nice one from, I think that one's a little bit later. Difficult to separate the covers from the pages with some of these. Yeah, October 51. And it's now gone up to a shilling, which is 5 new pence. Okay, now these were the larger size ones. I'll just push those to one side to accommodate the next little bunch. Move them forward a bit. Okay, now we go down to a digest size in November 1953. Now all of these, you know, the spines are pretty much well intact, so I was pleased about that. And the covers start to get much better when we move into the middle 50s. And the highlighted story, of course, is Just down the side there, and we've had a big jump in price to 1 and 6pence. Then we're on to 1954. Strange cover. Now, this one, if you're a Queen fan, you might recognise. That is a famous Kelly Frias cover, and it was the inspiration for Queen's album News of the World. Now, the image used on the album was not the same quite as this, very similar, but they got Kelly Frias to redraw it with the members of the band falling off the hand. Shame about the label, but so that is probably one of the most famous covers. And Kelly Frias is probably one of their most accomplished artists. Okay, we're moving to 54 now, 1954. It's a very strange cover, that one. Window to Tomorrow. And then a not so good cover. Where are we now? Still 54. There's little runs of these actually, 6-month runs. So it makes me wonder what happened to the other 6 months. I'm hoping they come up as a separate bunch so I can fill in some gaps. All right, then we have June 54. Now this one's interesting. See the highlighted stories moved to the bottom. Now they'd rather be right. Actually, this will be a serialised story, and this actually won the Hugo Award in 1955. So there were some high-profile stories written. Now this is another famous Kelly Frias cover. Martians Go Home, Frederick Brown. That's instantly recognisable to anybody who collects pulps or magazines, whatever you want to call them. Right, we're into 55 now. That's one that I had a double for, but this one's in nicer condition. Paul Anderson, the featured story. Right, there's a nice one. Where are we? Still in 55, April. And these are the kind of covers I like. I don't know, there's no, is there a, oh yes, I thought it was. This is a cover by Chesley Bonestell, which is typical of his work because he used to do a lot of scenes showing the planets from one of their moons, and they're very lovely. I had a couple of books and sold them ridiculously. But if you get a chance to have a look at any of his art, it's very nice. I didn't realise the artists have been credited. Okay, where are we? July 55. really don't know what that's all about. That's August 55. This is one I recognise. I think it's another quite famous cover. Paul Anderson story highlighted there. And we move to January 1956. And you'll notice that the price is still pegged at 1 6. There's an interesting one. I've never heard of that guy. Choice by Pateo. Well, I assume that's a story. I've never heard of him. Right, here's a nice bright one for March 56. And April 56. Oh, Frank Herbert story there. And pre-June. This is another one I had a double for. This is a very nice neck. It looks more like Robin Hood than anything else. Okay, now the magazine gets a little bit bigger, as you can see by the comparison there. That's October 56, and in November we had a slightly larger. That's a nice one. And December 56, we've moved up to 1 9 now, which is about what, 9 new pence, roughly. And then we're on to January 57. Like I say, it's strange that these run in little runs, go in little runs. I want to know where the rest are. We have February 57. Nice Asimov story in there. March 57. Looks like a scene from the opening of Forbidden Planet, that one. And then a cover that I don't like at all, April 57, that's horrible. I don't know who decided that would go on the cover, but wasn't a good idea in my opinion. Then we jump to May 57. James Blish story in that. And last but not least, we have that rather interesting cover. Is, we jumped to 1959, but we're still at 1 9. So yeah, that was my my little lot of old magazines. No doubt I'll be scouring eBay for some more that I don't have. So yeah, I hope you found that one of interest. I certainly enjoyed having a poke through them anyway. Like I say, I'd like to see more videos about these old mags, but not too many about. Okay, that's all I have to show you, all I have to say. So thank you for watching and subscribing and all the other things. And I will see you very shortly. Bye-bye now.